Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Hervé from Neuros, aka Neuron Supplements, and on today's episode we will be discussing low drive, low self-esteem and low motivation and how to hack these issues. Now, I was going to make an episode about intermittent fasting, but I thought, given the time we're in, it's January, it's cold, it's dark, it's the start of the year, a lot of people may be low on self-esteem, motivation, low on drive, and just low in general. So I feel this topic is more important at this point in time. So forgive me, I've written the script really quickly, but what this means is we get through an important topic that hopefully helps a lot of you, and I'll have more time to do research for the next episode, which will be on intermittent fasting. I will be away for 2 weeks, so there will be a bit of a break in between, but feel free to entertain yourselves with the other episodes. But without further ado, let's get on with it. Now, today we're delving into the neuroscience of emotions when we're talking about drive, self-esteem, and motivation. Our focus will be on the crucial aspect of daily life and motivation, which is pleasure and reward. Okay. We'll explore what underlies our sense of pleasure and reward, discussing addictions and the addictive properties of certain substances. Additionally, we'll touch upon the neurochemistry of drive and mindset. While each of these topics could merit their own episode, today we're specifically unraveling the neuroscience of motivation, reward, pleasure, and pain. Now, motivation is fundamental to our daily life. It propels us out of bed. It drives us towards both short-term and long-term goals. The chemistry of motivation is tightly intertwined with the neurochemistry of movement, primarily governed by the neurotransmitter, my favorite neurotransmitter, dopamine. If you know me well. I can talk about dopamine for hours and hours on end. It's the thing that motivates us. It's the thing that keeps us happy. It's just the key to life. And actually, I have an additional piece of information I'll save at the end. But yeah, the molecule plays a dual role. It's responsible for motivation and movement. Motivation. Now, let's talk about pleasure and pain. Motivation is a two-part process involving the delicate balance of pleasure and pain. It's often associated with the pursuit of pleasure. Dopamine is released in the brain when we encounter things we enjoy. For example, as I said before, as you've probably heard many times, don't go on your phone as soon as you wake up, because those hits of dopamine on your social media or the text you received or whatever, that could be detrimental to your motivation for the rest of the day. Okay? So don't go straight on social media, meditate, or set your tasks for the day, or just get straight to it. But try to avoid social media first thing in the morning. And anything else that gives you a dopamine hit. Video games, whatever it is. Now, when understanding motivation, it's crucial to internalize that dopamine is not just about pleasure. It's released in anticipation and craving for a specific thing, shaping our focus. So, for example, we'll use cocaine as an example. Research has shown that the anticipation for cocaine can be just as strong as the actual use of it. Now, if you're a regular user, that might not be the case. But it's just like anything. As soon as you wake up, that anticipation for that first coffee can be just as powerful as having the actual coffee. So we'll talk about this later. Delayed gratification and delayed celebration. But it's a good tool to use to manage your dopamine, which takes us to the next topic, control of your dopamine release. Now, merely thinking about substances like food, sex, or addictive drugs can increase dopamine release similar to actual consumption. However, excessive release, as seen with drugs like cocaine and amphetamine, can lead to disastrous consequences. I've spoken about this many times, and again, if you know me, you would have heard this. Using drugs will increase your dopamine to its limit, depending on what you're taking and how much you take. It can push your dopamine to the roof. But then what happens is your dopamine will crash below your baseline. And that's where you experience a calm down. You experience the anxiety, things like that. These cute names we give these conditions. What it is you had so much fun the night before that the next day your brain can't produce dopamine. And that is, in fact, amphetamine is literally has the opposite effects of caffeine, because it will spike your adrenaline, but then it will also make it very difficult for your brain to produce those dopamine neurotransmitters, whereas caffeine makes it very easy for your brain to produce the dopamine transmitters. So keep all of this in mind. Dopamine's role is tied to motivating behaviors necessary for the survival of a species, such as seeking water when thirsty or pursuing sex for reproduction. So dopamine is literally rooted in our psyche, in our subconscious. It's our signal for doing something we need to do. For example, going to eat, searching for water when we're thirsty, or sex for reproduction or pleasure. It also works with pain. You'll often find the people, let's say, if you're somebody who has some tattoos, you say, I have some tattoos. The first time going, or when you seek advice before you get your first tattoo, you'll often find people who say, yeah, you get your first tattoo, and then you want one again, and then you want another one, and again, and again, and then before you know it, your whole body's inked. And that, our dopamine receptors learn to anticipate the pain in a sense of pleasure. We look forward to it, we anticipate it, and then when it happens, where our dopamine is increased from it, if that makes sense. We then train our minds to be able to enjoy the ordeal of getting a tattoo. And this plays in every aspect of life. Things that we find difficult or painful, depending on our perspective or depending on our perspective or our experience of that pleasure can feel like, that pain can feel like pleasure. And to some people, things that are pleasurable can feel like pain. You know, some people hate Christmases, for example. Probably not the best example, but it's an example, right? So this ties in to our emotional imbalance. Now, while anticipation and desire are beneficial for goal pursuit, constant seeking can be detrimental to enjoying life. A good example would be the hustle culture. The culture of constantly setting and achieving goals without compromise, without rest. You'll often find that the constant seeking of this can be detrimental to our ability to enjoy life, and dopamine is essential for enjoying life as well. So that delayed gratification there, too much of it, can stop you from enjoying life. Now, let me carry on. Individuals with consistently high dopamine levels, so there are a lot of people out there that are just, I think the word is dopaminetic. I think that's the word. Don't quote me on that. But they just naturally have high dopamine levels. And this goes back to when I speak about our base levels of dopamine. There are a lot of people, I've met a lot of people who I meet and I observe and I get to know. And I do wonder if they're on drugs. I do wonder if they're on cocaine or amphetamine, because they're just so motivated, so happy, and they're just on high tempo all the time. They're, from the moment they're awake up until the time they sit down or fall asleep, they're just always on 110%. These are people with high dopamine levels, which means that they may exhibit certain sociopathic elements. Now, there's a spectrum, I think it's a psychology spectrum, of approaches to goal achievement. Some people actively pursue goals while others adopt a more passive or supportive role, right? So some people are the movers and shakers, and some people are the support system. Some people get that dopamine release from manipulating people into doing what they want, into helping them in the pursuit of their goals. And there are some people who are just givers. They get their dopamine release from givers, from constant support, and from seeing other people happy. It makes them happy. So there are the active pursuers, and there are the more passive and supportive people, the passive supporters. Dopamine, being a neutral molecule, it doesn't distinguish between the two paths, right? Dopamine doesn't it doesn't favor the pursuers, and it doesn't favor the passive supporters. Whatever floats your boat, basically, whatever you like, whatever you enjoy, and you can always rewire your brain to enjoy different things. So you could live your life as a passive supporter, and then something can motivate you and rewire your brain or shock your neutrons to then eventually turn into an active pursuer. But in a nutshell, dopamine doesn't favor one or the other. Okay. This brings me to my next point, which is emotional development. Now, I'm going back to childhood now. Good infant-parent attachment is crucial for healthy adult relationships. It involves engaging children in both anticipation and the appreciation of the present moment. So depending on how you were trained as a kid, that will influence how your dopamine is regulated, how your dopamine is released as an adult. I hope that makes sense. It's essential to balance exciting moments with activities that enhance the child's pleasure in the present. Okay. And this ties in, and sorry, that was a very short point. Leave a comment if you want me to delve deeper. Like I say, a lot of these topics deserve their own episode, but I'm sort of speed running through these. Now, my final point, and I brought this up before, I've brought this up a few times, the intermittent halting of celebration. To maintain a healthy pursuit of goals, it's beneficial to occasionally withhold celebrations upon achieving milestones. This prevents excessive dopamine release and ensuring a sustained drive towards continued progress, right? You have a big goal, you have a big dream, you're taking steps along the way. Don't celebrate each achievement, okay? Celebrate some big wins, but don't celebrate all of the small wins. Keep it going, because what you might be doing is lowering your motivation to continue. A good example would be an athlete in a sports team. Let's use football as an example. They've been working all year, all summer, doing extra training sessions, training alone. They have their nutritionists, they have sports coach, mental coach, whatever. They've pulling out all the stops to become the best they could be. And then in that season, they play the best season of their life. They're scoring goals left, right and centre. They're setting up goals. They're doing tricks. They're on all the highlight reels. They're on the short list for every award now. They've smashed it. Their agent goes to the club, goes to the board and says, look at all these stats. Look at what my client has been able to achieve. I believe my client should be paid an X amount of money. The board say, yeah. The manager says, yes, you know what? You've proven yourself. You've hit these milestones. Here's a contract. If you like it, sign it. The player signs it now. He has his contract. Here's his dream contract now. He's in the top 5% of earners. And often what you find is that motivation can go away after they've achieved that huge milestone. So now, in a practical sense, the athlete will be given their reward. But you know what? I saw this video from Huberman where he speaks about one of his friends who came to him with this question. I've achieved my goal, but what do I do? Should I go and celebrate it, or should I halt my celebrations a little bit? And they advised him to take some of the money that he earned and to just give it away. And I think that was a way for him to reset and to give himself another goal to achieve. So along the way on your journey, don't celebrate every single win. Celebrate wins strategically. and strategically limit the intensity of your celebrations. Okay, big wins, celebrate in a great way. So whatever you deem to be enough, but yeah, you don't want to end up with burnout, and you want to preserve your motivation by not celebrating too hard. Okay, so I hope this helps. I hope this helps with in terms of your motivation, your drive, and your self-esteem. It's always good whenever you feel low in any area of your life, happiness, if you feel really stressed, if you feel burnt out, if you feel you don't have motivation, if you have low self-esteem. My advice is to first look at, just observe yourself and how your brain is working, and look for hacks to resolve your issues. Okay, like I said in the start of the video, start your day by avoiding social media, by avoiding texting unless it's really important, by avoiding these things. Even, if you go to the gym without music some days. Find a way to regulate your dopamine so that you always stay motivated. When you're working, maybe don't have something on in the background that can distract you or that can release dopamine randomly. You might have something funny on while you're working. Something funny, you catch it, your dopamine spikes, you're distracted now, There are a lot of hacks. And you know what? I might do another video on dopamine hacks so that you guys have a list of examples and ways. And there are lots of supplements as well. Our supplement, Neuron Supplements, contains L-acetyl, L-theanine, L-tyrosine, and these all help with dopamine regulation and focus. So there are many ways to keep yourself motivated. Do some research, keep watching our videos, and I guarantee you'll have the tools you need to be the best you can be. So I'll leave it there. And as I say, there'll be a delay for 2 weeks for another episode. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have. And don't forget, Neuron Supplements, baby. It's on the market. So click the link in the description to our website. Try it. Leave us a comment. Leave us a review. And we'd love to know, because as much as this is the perfect all-in-one supplement, there is always room for improvement. So, we're not celebrating just yet. So yeah, I'll leave you guys to it. Have a wonderful week ahead. Have a wonderful rest of January. I'll see you guys in February. Much love, peace, and thank you for watching.